Two amazing game ones. Patrick and I are going to go over the conference finals game ones if we feel any different about the two series moving forward. And let's get into foul trouble.
What a start to the conference finals slate. It really, like you said, two great games. Where do you want to start?
Let's start with Minnesota-Dallas. I feel like this is the more high-profile series. Just an amazing game all around. I thought a lot of great plays from both teams, really interesting tactically. Some stuff from both teams. It was such a close game, so I feel like this is still anyone's series. You know, I'm not going to take too much away from it. I mean, my biggest takeaway, it's just the same thing for the first two Clippers series and now this series. Just when Derek Lively's in the game, the Mavs don't allow rim points.
Yeah.
It's just like...
and his ability to switch out onto like perimeter players also is just so advanced.
Yeah, it kind of feels like we're watching like Rudy Gobert's like future successor who... I don't know. It's just given how good he is early on. Is there potential? This is like the next in the Wembanyama era. I don't know if it's going to happen with another center.
It's going to be tough for the accolades, but I think he could get to that near that level.
This is going to be a perennial all first, all second team defense guy. I think for the next decade, Derek Lively. I mean, it's just incredible. Like he's plus 19 in 27 minutes in this game. When he's in the game, the Timberwolves cannot score, and this is the same thing that happened in the OKC series, the same thing that happened in the Clippers series. And I think it's really interesting that the Wolves did look a little bit tired. And I think we saw in the Denver series, there was this kind of up and down as to like, can they maintain that frenetic, crazy defense every single game? And in this game, it felt like Luka did a much better job of controlling the pace of the game in favor of the Mavs. But how did you feel about that?
Yeah, I felt like in general, the process that the Mavs took of getting offense, of defending the Timberwolves was very sustainable, and it seemed like a replicable thing. And the Timberwolves offense was like mainly generated by jump shooting and threes. The defense was kind of all over the place. It kind of felt like they were just like hoping that the Mavs' questionable shooters were going to continue to be questionable shooters. So it was, I would definitely say it was a little alarming as like someone that picked the Timberwolves to win this series. But, you know, at the end of the day, it was a really, really close game. And I think these are going to be I think every single game in this series is probably going to come down to the wire.
Yeah, I think so too. I thought the Timberwolves did some fun things on offense, though. I thought in the fourth quarter, they ran this like Cat Gobert pick and roll like 3 times in a row. And
that.
Every single time, Cat like read it properly through the lob to Gobert. The worry, though, for like, I think this is what separates like the Timberwolves offensive guys is like, then the Mavericks switched, like they switched it instead of dropping on it. And then Cat was like, whoa, okay, I don't know what to do anymore. Whereas like with Luka, it's like, oh, they're going to blitz me now. I know where to ping the ball. Mm-hmm. And I think like the Mavericks can, because their floor generals and Luka and Kyrie are just so smart, so skilled, it makes them a little bit more adaptable to defensive switch ups where it feels like the Mavericks can throw a switch up at the Timberwolves whenever they need to get a stop in any given possession, which I think is a little weird of a dynamic. But I mean, I thought Karl-Anthony Towns was awesome in this game. It felt like in the fourth quarter, he could kind of like blow by Washington whenever he wanted. It kind of felt like he could get whatever shot he wanted. The hard part was when Lively would come and help. He threw up an airball floater on one of those, but yeah, I mean, I feel like this might have to be the Cat series.
Yeah, I mean, the shot selection from Cat was a little all over the place in the first half. But then, like you said, in the second half, he was definitely the most reliable Timberwolf. We're kind of passing over how, like, out of sorts Ant looked. Ant looked like a guy that was just in a street fight and then had to walk the rest of the way home and got in another street fight on his way to his apartment.
Yeah,
he just looked really tired.
It was one of those funny games, though, where the commentator is like, man, something doesn't look right with Anthony Edwards. What's going on? And then Anthony Edwards pulls up and nails a three, and they're like, there he is. And you're like, okay, is something wrong with him? We were talking about this before the pod, but like, I feel like he's moving well. Like when I see him do his like kind of between size up move that he likes to go to in his burst, I feel like athletically he looks the same, but there is something that looks a little off. I don't know.
Well, I think that his lateral movement is there. Like he can do his dribble moves, get side to side, but there is just, and this is a huge problem I have from the entire Timberwolves roster in this game, is there was just no north to south like movement. It seemed like they were scared to attack the rim against this Mavericks front line, which is understandable. I mean, it is a beefy, like really great high level rim protecting front line. But if they're like, if you're the Timberwolves, you are playing three centers, huge minutes. You cannot get destroyed in the paint 62-38. That's like, that is a one-way track to losing this series, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough, though, because the Timberwolves were hitting three. Like, Jaden McDaniels was, 6 of 7 at one point. Edwards himself was 5 of 12, that's actually pretty good. I mean, Towns did not shoot well. Conley did not shoot well. But I think, like, it is one of those weird things where as much as we want to be like, they got to score more in the paint, if they're being given threes and they're just taking open threes, I don't want to fault them for that either.
Yeah, but I
guess
just feel like you're playing into what the Mavs want you to do. If it's a big 3-point shooting game for the Timberwolves, I want it to be a product of like Ant is being like such a menace around the rim that the Mavericks have to adjust their strategy to take that away. And then you're hitting corner threes. I feel like a lot of the threes were above the break.
Yeah, I think to your point, it's like that Denver Game 7 where it was like Ant doesn't shoot the ball well, but there's like 3 corner kickouts because he's just explosively attacking the rim, and that's when the Timberwolves are getting their best look. So yeah, I think to that degree that's true, but it is tough. I think the Mavericks, it's kind of weird when you look at this team, you go, wow, unbelievable rim protection, but like Luka, Kyrie, but then you're actually watching the games and like Luka and Kyrie and Jones and Washington are like kind of becoming a really good perimeter, like denying penetration team.
Well, yeah, definitely. I want to talk about that, but I do have to shout out. After the last series, I was saying Kyrie, he looked great, he was effective, but I need that offensive production from him. And boy, did he deliver just right off the bat in this game. Like exactly what I wanted to see from Kyrie. And like, I don't want to get it too ahead of myself, but like if the Mavericks can pull out this series, this offseason are going to be able to have some really interesting, like all-time discussions about Kyrie.
Yeah, I think like what's really interesting about this series too, and I think it goes back to the same thing I kind of talked about between games 2 and 3 of the Denver series, is like you can play that frenetic full court pressing style against like the injured Murray, but it's like once he gets healthier and he's actually able to like kind of ward off his dribble a bit better. And at the same time with Luka and Kyrie, like I don't think it's effective to full court pressure those guys because you're not going to steal. They're like they had like what 3 poke steals on Denver in the game 7. I don't think they're going to get a single one this whole series against these two guys.
Well, and we saw Kyrie leak out time and time again past that full court pressure, and Luka is just way too good of an outlet passer to like get away with that level of aggression. I don't think that's really tenable. I think the transition defense needs to be like, even at like, try to get your offensive boards. You've got really, really great rebounders down there. Let them do their thing. Let them try to like beat their matchup. But I feel like the gang offensive rebounding that we've seen from the Timberwolves here and there, I don't know if that is really the move for this specific series.
Yeah, I think all these games are going to be close. That's what's always kind of goofy to me when we do these like, game recaps. It's like, oh, this team didn't do this and this team didn't do this. It's like they lost by 3. Either team definitely could have won. It's like one of those weird things where like one single basket would have us talking about this, toward the Mavericks, the way I guess we're kind of negatively talking about the Timberwolves in some sense. But I do think the one thing I'm taking away from the end of this game that I feel like is kind of an unsolvable problem for the Timberwolves is like the Mavs run like 4 or 5 like Luka, lively pick and rolls, and they're just getting good offense out of it every time. So the Timberwolves like trap it. So then like the next possession, Luka's like, all right, I'm going to ISO now. And they basically get the exact same shot out of Luka's ISO that they got out of Luka's pick and roll, which is like Luka getting a 12-foot jump shot. And like I think that's the worry for the Timberwolves is like Jaden McDaniels. Luka feels like one of those players where it doesn't really matter what the defense is doing. It just matters if his shot hits or not. And it almost feels like there's just, you know what I mean? It's like he didn't hit in the first half, but it's like, is that just because his shot wasn't falling?
I mean, I think strength and size like do affect Luka a little bit more than like length and speed. And they had Jaden McDaniels pretty much guarding him exclusively with Rudy Gobert in the drop, which, oh my God, Reggie Miller could not fucking shut up about. But I think that's a move that you can do. Like, I would be interested to see, like, if you just commit to a little bit more switching and just like, if Jaden McDaniels is going to get killed by Luka, what happens if you just switch it and say, like, Luka, you can have this shot, but like shoot it over Rudy Gobert. Just make it a little bit tougher.
I think the worry with the switching though is Luka's going to find a way to get Lively more dunks, because that's the thing. Luka generated a lot of dunks for his big men in this game.
Yeah, I just feel like he had them in jet. Like, I was having PTSD from watching DeAndre Ayton and Mikal Bridges try to navigate this like drop coverage on Luka in the 22 playoffs. And I feel like it was the exact same thing. Like, Luka just gets Jaden McDaniels on his hip. He gets 2 feet in the paint, and then it's just like it's over because he has Gobert frozen.
I think it's one of those things though where it's just like, I mean, I've felt this way all season coming into the season that Luka was the best perimeter player. I think he's an unsolvable problem, because I think the problem is if you don't play drop, you're going to see a lot of Lively dunks. If you do play drop, you're going to see a lot of Luka torching you in the mid-range. It's like Luka's this unsolvable problem that I feel like Minnesota has to win everywhere else to win the series. And I mean, Luka, the Mavs actually got outscored by 9 points when Luka was on the court this game. Obviously, Luka kind of won them the game.
Boy, does that feel like a fake stat.
Boy, does that feel like a fake stat. It does feel like a fake stat. But I think that's just because we all are a little too slanted toward how important the fourth quarter is compared to every other quarter. It's in a weird way. But I mean, Kyrie was awesome. I think it's going to be a great series. Like, I don't know. If I'm Minnesota, I'm like, I definitely feel like it's one of those things where, you know, if Ant shoots a little bit better, maybe McDaniel shoots a little bit worse, but Towns shoots a little bit better. I mean, Towns was 6 of 20, as good as I felt like he played on offense.
Yeah, I mean, that is the saving grace for a Timberwolves fan. It's like Ant and Cat didn't have it going for Ant the whole game.
Yeah, I guess
Cat
my
3/4 of the game.
My subtle worry for the Timberwolves is just this like ability for the Mavs to adjust on the fly compared to, honestly, of the 4 remaining teams, I think way better than any of the other 3 teams.
Yeah, I mean,
and I just feel like Minnesota, I'm just a little worried that there might be a game in this series where Dallas is like, oh, here's this, and then the Timberwolves players are like, oh.
Yeah, I did text Max during the game. I said it was halftime, and I said, I'll tell you one thing. If the Timberwolves waste this shooting performance from McDaniels and this scoring performance from Kyle Anderson, they are really going to regret it, because these are the kind of like role player, like spikes in effectiveness that you just have to capitalize on in the playoffs, because you never know if they're going to come up again.
Yeah, I think.
Shout out my man Kyle.
Yeah,
I low-key love Kyle Anderson.
I don't, but like
enemy of the pod,
enemy of the max for sure. But like, yeah, like I loved how nobody was guarding him at all. Luka was not closing out on him at all. Basically, they on their scouting report, they just did not regard Kyle at all, which is great.
He had that one funny play where he like slips and then crosses over and hits like a 2-foot jump shot.
Completely like curly nails the ball on the ground.
The Mavs defense has like 8 seconds to recover and no one bothers.
Yeah, and like you're right. That's the kind of performance where like that's not going to happen again. Like they're not going to let that happen again. I don't think so.
My thing about Kyle Anderson is like, it's very rare, I feel like, especially at this point in the NBA's life cycle, to have a player just like so much different than every other player in the league. No one is even close to what Kyle Anderson does. Effectiveness be damned. Like, he is just so unique. But I don't know. I'm excited for game 2. It just feels like this series is far from over. But I feel like
it's definitely far from over.
We didn't even talk about Ant all that much. Like,
I mean,
if he's gonna be like that, in my opinion, like the Wolves don't really have a chance. Like, they need him to be.
Yeah, I guess to your point, Patrick, like this is the big number is. So Ant is 5 of 12 from the 3-point line. That means he's 1 of 4 from 2-point land. And I think even if Ant is shooting 5 of 12, that's like what, 41%. That's pretty good percentage. You'd take that any day. I think part of you is like Ant has to take more than 4 2-point field goals. I mean, I guess he took 5 because he's got the 2 free throws. So Ant took 5 shots, below the arc. But yeah, I think he's got to put more pressure on the Mavs. It's just hard though because I think it's just hard because this Mavs defense is just really you can't really drive on them. So it's like they're gonna have to find a way to bring Lively out. And I don't know. I think the Mavs kind of are in this really good spot for themselves where it's like we're not going to bring Lively out too far, even though he can do that, just because we're so good protecting the rim. And like if Ant's going to shoot 12 threes, to your point, like we're okay with that, even if he's hitting 5 of them.
Yeah, I mean, I think you want, like, in a perfect world, like, you want to put the Mavericks in a position where their centers are forced to make as many decisions as possible. And that was, like, really not the case this game.
Yeah, I think this is maybe the weakness that, like, the Timberwolves can have is you can run that pick and fade with Naz Reid or Cat with Ant. So then Lively is kind of in a damned if you do, damned if you don't. But I think the Mavs are a little bit more comfortable switching in that situation just because, like, Cat attacking from the perimeter, it looks good on TV, but then you see the stat line 6 of 20. But I think the other thing, too, is it's like there's still that one weakness with Cat is, like, he's a little slow on the swing. Mm-hmm. And usually with pick and fades, it's not usually the first pass. It's like the second and third pass. And I think that's sometimes the Timberwolves are just kind of slow on their swings.
I feel like Cat has also been kind of slow on, like, shooting threes. Like, he'll get the ball and hold it for almost a second too long in a way that, like, even during the regular season, I feel like he's not as apprehensive. And I think it probably comes from a place of wanting to make the right decision. But I wish he had that trigger, like, a little bit quicker as well.
Yeah, it definitely felt like between this, it's so weird between this series and last series, the way, like, Jokic and Doncic control the game. Because, like, with Jokic, there was just so much like, oh, he's getting the ball in the post. We're just going to quickly double, and we're going to really force Denver to be, like, frenetic and have to run all over the place. Whereas with Luka, it's like, okay, I'm going to isolate this possession. Everyone get out of the way. And everyone in Minnesota is like, I want to do something. But Luka's like, no, I'm just going to control the pace. I'm going to go at my own pace. And it feels like he really dictated the terms of the game in a way that I feel like Minnesota isn't used to, given how the first 2 series went for them.
How do you feel right now about the plan to have McDaniels guarding Luka?
I like it just because I don't know what else you're going to do.
Yeah. Ant looked really rough against Luka.
Yeah, he's too small.
And, like, I wish he could get, like, under him in the way that, like, Dort was able to, but it just didn't seem like that was happening yesterday.
I guess this is a weird one for me. You can't really do it with your starting lineup because I think Cat would foul out. But when Naz Reid is in the game and he's playing with another big, does it make sense to put Naz Reid on Luka?
See, I didn't hate the Cat on Luka, but yeah, you can't have him foul out.
I'm just worried about that for long stretches. I'm not worried about that for, like, a possession, but, like, on a, every other possession. I feel like, does it make sense to? What do you think, Max?
I think we're gonna see more of Cat guarding Luka, and it's just gonna be that, okay, Cat's gonna have 4 fouls every game, and we're just gonna have to rock with that.
Because I think if you're the Timberwolves, you're like, okay, so Mike Conley's guarding PJ Washington, like, or probably not even that. It'd probably be, I don't know, maybe Ants on PJ. I don't really know who guard PJ when you switch it up like that, but I feel like if you're the Timberwolves, you're like, okay.
I feel
if
like
they want to play through PJ Washington in a size mismatch, and
that's
that
a
means,
win.
Yeah, and it means Luka and Kyrie aren't the ones with the ball here. Like, go ahead.
Yeah, because that's kind of what I'm getting at is, like, it just feels like McDaniels could make a real, like, impact guarding Kyrie in a way that it's just, like, not on the table for him when he's guarding Luka. But then you get into, like, who's guarding Luka, and it's a never ending.
Yeah, I think I'm just worried about Cat. I just feel like Luka would be like, oh, man, you want to get us into the bonus real quick? Give me the ball 4 straight possessions. I'll figure it out.
Yeah, no. That is
but
definitely.
I think when Naz is in the game, I think that's an interesting matchup for Minnesota. But I think that's what's tough about Luka, right? Is, like, the adjustment is, like, we're coming up with an adjustment that's like, hey, let's take one of our bigs and put him 40 feet from the basket on defense. And I think that's what's tough is Luka just kind of breaks all of your schemes on defense.
Yeah. So Naz played 24 minutes in this game. I feel like maybe you could get some more minutes out of those Kyle Anderson 17. And I feel like normally Kyle Anderson wouldn't have played 17 minutes in this game, but he just had it going for whatever reason.
It's tough though with Minnesota because it's like their greatest strength is like that Naz can come in and, like, either change it up or keep going what's working well. but they have this weird problem where like you can play 2 of Gobert, Towns, and Nas together, but it's hard to play all 3.
Yeah. I wonder what that would look like.
We also like didn't get very much Nickeil Alexander-Walker because he wasn't playing well. But normally he's like much better than that. So I think having him out there would solve some of that.
Yeah, and again,
issue.
I feel like I guess the only way I want to look at this though in a positive way for the Timberwolves is like if that offensive interference, which like maybe the ball's 5 inches the other way and it is a putback, and maybe Luka misses that one step back, and all of a sudden it's like 109, 104 Timberwolves, and we're like, oh my God, I can't believe, like what, like I guess I don't want to be too
postseason hero Karl Anthony Towns.
Yeah, I guess I just don't want to be too down on the Timberwolves, but I did feel like the Mavs do have this. I feel like that's the thing with the Mavs is they're just very steady.
Yeah, I couldn't help but think this about the Mavs. I didn't watch the second half live. I watched it after the fact, and James had texted me like, this is like the 66 win Mavs team that I saw coming. And although
it's a different team,
but like this, like when you're just thinking about like the modern NBA and like, what are the ideal archetypes in a modern NBA championship contending team? I think like this Mavs team is pretty much by the book what you would say. Like if you're starting like the new Seattle Supersonics, like what ideal star do you want? Oh, I want like a big guard that is an amazing passer but can also score in isolation. I want 2 defensive wings that can hit corner threes. And I want like really, really great rim protection at all times.
Who also has inside gravity on offense on lob plays.
Exactly. Yeah. And like that is what Nico Harrison has achieved with this Dallas Mavericks team, which, I don't know if they're going to end up getting through this round. But either way, the fact that they've been able to achieve this after last season really having like being able to identify 2 starters and pretty much nobody else that was really playable at all. It's such a huge, crazy swing.
And also wild that OKC didn't go after Gafford or fucking the other guy. What's his name?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, PJ. Like, they didn't try to get PJ or Gafford. Like, that's kind of weird. Maybe they did, but they just didn't succeed.
Well, I mean,
this season I feel like is a weird black mark for Sam Presti.
OKC literally traded them the pick that they acquired Daniel Gafford for, and they helped them acquire Lively.
Yeah.
By the contract dump. It was Sam Presti saying like, I would rather have an extra pick than Daniel Gafford this season. Which thanks Sam Presti. You might have
created a monster.
Created a monster.
Yeah, no. But the reason I was really high on Dallas, and it's kind of weird because Dallas has been winning in a way that I didn't expect this team to win, which is why I feel like I was super high on them all season, and then I was stupidly high on them after the trade deadline. And then like during the Clippers series is when I kind of like cooled off a little bit because I was like, okay, they're winning, but they're not winning in the way I thought they were going to win. And now I'm kind of back like on my Mavs hype. But I just felt like last season post-trade deadline, their defense was just historically bad. And I was like, even if they run it back with all these terrible defenders, it's just inconceivable they'll be that bad on defense again. And their offense should be really, really good. And obviously Grant Williams did not work out at all there, but I was like, seems like the perfect type. I mean, he's kind of...
Yeah, hey, I thought Grant Williams was going to
be great. Yeah, but should we get to the East?
Yeah, let's go over to the Eastern Conference.
What a game.
I know. What an absolute insane game. The Celtics end up winning game 1 in overtime against the Pacers, 133-128. Really defined by just an insane last minute of the game where we see like the Pacers throw a haymaker and then Jaylen Brown forces a turnover, and then Jaylen Brown hits this insane contested corner 3 to tie the game, opening the door for Jason Tatum not to have all of the heat in the world on him and have a good overtime. What did you take away from this game?
I thought it was really interesting how effective the pick and fade with Miles Turner was almost the entire game. It felt like Turner was getting open jump shots all game, and I feel like this was kind of the weird thing with Indiana, which is I feel like this is the thing like people would always talk about with like weird thing like Milwaukee's defense. Like we'll leave like some shooters open, like a Miles Turner, because Miles Turner doesn't want to take 16 jump shots in a game. But I feel like in this game, it was like the opposite, where it's like, oh, Miles Turner's like, you know what? I'm open. I'm going to shoot it. And I feel like they made them pay. I mean, Turner was 9 of 13. And then it's one of those things where you probably don't expect him to shoot that well every game, but he's like so open on these pick and fades. I thought Halliburton did a great job setting him up. I think Siakam is going to struggle scoring on Tatum. I think Tatum's a really good matchup for Siakam, but man, the Celtics, man, there's just something about this team that leaves a lot to be desired.
I mean, they looked like they were also taking a nap and someone threw a bucket of water on them to wake them up for this game. The Celtics just cannot help but play up or down to the competition. And they just, I feel like absolutely have surrendered the terms of engagement of every single one of these series. They're just so freaking talented that it's yeah, we'll play your style and we'll figure out a way to win, which is a great thing that most teams don't have the talent to be able to do. But it's also okay, what is your game?
Yeah, I thought it was interesting after the game. They asked Jaylen Brown, how do you feel about the series? And he was like, we have to play to their pace. And I was like, Jaylen, you guys are the better team. I mean, they like to play fast too, so it's kind of one of those weird things where I think it does benefit them to play that way. But it is kind of weird that their mindset is all right, we're going to adjust to what Indiana's doing instead of we're going to set the tone all series.
Yeah, I mean, I just think when you get Jason Tatum going downhill, everything is just so easy for the Celtics. But they consistently go back to these early shot clock threes, which I get it, especially against this Pacers team. A lot of those threes are open, but is that the best way to win this series? I don't think so. It just plays right into this Pacers team's hands.
Yeah, I mean, Celtics are the better team. I think the Celtics are going to win the series. I think even though the Celtics also got some uncharacteristically good shooting from Drew Holiday, I think the Celtics for me.
Did he think he was playing the Suns in the finals or something?
Yeah, I think the one thing for the Celtics for me though, it's just I just can't shake that at the end of games, and the Pacers obviously completely melted down at the end of the fourth quarter, but in overtime, Tatum was pretty good, but he had that one play where he ran a pick and roll and then threw it to nobody. Mm-hmm. That was kind of weird. And even the Jaylen Brown, the game tying shot, I think there's 7 on the shot clock. And it's a pretty bad shot, the shot he took.
Oh, I mean, it wasn't an easy shot, that's for sure.
No, even with Siakam's hands oddly in his own ass. I don't know if you saw the picture where someone froze it. Literally, it's what the fuck are you doing, bro? I get he doesn't want to foul there, but yeah, I don't know. It's just a little I don't know. I just feel like the Celtics have this amazing offense. They're putting they scored 133 points. Even with overtime, that's still a lot of points in the way these playoffs have been going. But there's still that at the end of the game, at the last 2 minutes, it's what is going on with this team's offense?
Yeah, I mean, one thing I think there's just, and they can't get away from this right now, but way too much Al Horford. Al Horford, he's not Al Horford anymore.
It's tough because I feel like Horford's always kind of been the release valve for the Celtics offense, and I feel like historically it's been pretty good for them. In this game, he was 3 of 12 from 3, 5 of 15 overall.
12 threes is way too much for Al Horford to be shooting.
No, I agree.
I don't care if they're open. Go to the fucking basket. Get Jason Tatum something downhill.
Yeah,
it's just way too much.
No, yeah, I agree. I think I do want to be fair to the Celtics in that every other team, when they've had an injury, we're always well, they've had their injury. So I do want to say the Celtics are missing Porzingis, who
we have said was the second best
player on their team. So I want to be fair to the Celtics in that they don't have their full team. Mm-hmm. Having said that, I still feel like they shouldn't be going to overtime against the Pacers. I don't know. I mean, the Pacers are good. They're fun. They put up a lot of points. It feels like they score so many points through just sheer really ratcheting it up the pace. They kind of feel like last year's Kings team, where before their Warriors series, we were there's no way they can play at this pace in the playoffs. And they're but what if we do?
The interesting thing about them is they're so fucking decisive. You know, it's I don't really agree with all the decisions they make, but they are going to stick to the game plan. They're going to get up shots early in the offense. They're going to get guys like Miles Turner. Miles Turner was great in this game. They're going to get guys like Obi Toppin. Who freaking knew Obi Toppin was a playoff player? This is the second series in a row where Or, I mean, I guess we're one game into this, but Obi Toppin has looked amazing in these playoffs, just as like a real guy that you can give playoff minutes. TJ McConnell got really good minutes still. Yeah, I mean, I think you got to be really happy with what you saw from, like, if you're a Pacers fan.
I mean, the Pacers should have won the game.
Yeah, totally. But I gotta say, the fact that the Pacers ended up losing this game, I picked Celtics in 6 for this series. I feel like now it's gonna be Celtics in 5, Celtics in 4.
Because Indy lost the game they should have won.
This was it. This was their opportunity to maybe make this a series. And I don't think you're going to get the game 2 Celtics.
For some reason, so I picked Celtics in 5, which I think could still happen. For some reason, my gut is telling me this is going to be a weird Celtics in 6, but it's not a 6 that's like, whoa. It's more of a 6 that it feels like, okay, Boston's going to win. We'll just, Indiana won, but okay, whatever. Boston will win the next 2. I don't know why I'm getting that like first round versus the Hawks vibes from the Celtics right now.
I mean, that's why I picked it initially, is because I just felt like the shooting variability and the fact that like they both kind of want to do the same thing is going to like play into both teams' hands at different spots throughout the series. But yeah, I don't know. Jaylen Brown really impressed me though, I gotta say.
Yeah, Jaylen Brown's been awesome.
He put the team on his back when they really needed him, and it felt like the game was done. And I don't want that to like be pushed to the wayside just because the Pacers are such an inferior like regular season profiling team. Like it takes a real guy to do what he did, and I think like that just needs to be noted.
Yeah. I don't know what to make of this, but I feel like it gets parroted enough on all the broadcasts that I feel like we need to talk about it. So the Celtics went 37-4 at home this year. And they're like, what, like right above 500 for the last like 3 or 4 years at home in the playoffs?
Yeah, one game over 500 in the playoffs, Jason Tatum.
That's so weird.
I know, it's freaking insane. And the fact that they've been so successful is the crazy thing. Yeah. It would be one thing if it was like the Clippers.
Yeah, like if I told you this random team has like a 500 record at home in the playoffs, you'd be like, oh, that team probably has never made it past the second round.
They won like 2 series maybe over the course of 4 years.
Yeah, like, but no, this.
Yeah, no, they win like 2 series every year consistently. Like that's the floor.
It's the Celtics are the most like enigma of a basketball team. Like this era of Celtics basketball is just like the weirdest basketball team ever.
Yeah. I mean, with a team this talented, I do feel like it's tough to like get up for what they have played against. And I don't want to like, you can't choose that like we always say, but
no, I definitely feel you, because I mean, this is the team that like they've played like the Bucks, the Durant Nets. They've played like, a pretty good
Golden State Warriors.
A pretty good post-championship Raptors team. The Raptors were kind of good for like 2 years after their championship. They've played, like
these great Heat teams.
They played the remnants of LeBron's Cavs. And it's like, you were like, wow, that's like 7 years ago. But you're like, Tatum was there, Brown was there, like the front office guy, Brad Stevens was there, Horford was there. It's like, this team has been around for a while. Like so I do kind of agree with you. Like, I feel like it is tough when all week it's just like everyone's like, oh, look at the fucking Celtics. They're going through the Pacers. And the only reason they're going through the Pacers is because the Pacers got really lucky. So like everyone's like not only taking away from the Celtics, granted success, but they're taking away from their opponent so much that it's like.
Yeah, it's like, you really want me to come in fired up for this game?
Yeah.
Kristaps Porzingis, all the reports are that he is targeting a Game 4 return to this series. How do you feel about that? How like strategically would you deal with a Kristaps Porzingis return?
I mean, I feel like at that point, my guess is the Celtics are up 3-1. I'd probably bring him off the bench and play him a little bit, not play him smaller minutes.
Yeah, I
think this is a weird team to go in against right away, because like they're not going to beat him up, but they're going to make him run a lot.
It's a good team to get in basketball shape against.
One thing I actually, I was thinking though about this game, because the Pacers obviously beat the Celtics in the in-season tournament, and the Pacers, right? We've seen them be pretty good against a lot of really good teams this year. Like they kind of owned Milwaukee. Maybe that's not a really good team, but it's like when I think back about the team that really kicked their ass, it was the Lakers because of Anthony Davis, and I'm like, is the Celtics? I think the Celtics are going to win, but does the Celtics not having like a big dominant physical big is kind of like the weird equalizer where if the Pacers just don't play against a guy like that, they can kind of just play with anybody?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, they did shoot really well from three in this game. Like shooting 37% from three for this Pacers team is huge. Like I feel like they're pretty much going to be in any game where you can shoot like that. And the Kristaps Porzingis three. But yeah, it's really hard for me to like gauge what this Pacers team is. Like, who would you choose in a series? The 2022 Hawks or this Indiana Pacers team?
The 2022 Hawks had
the one
Trae
that
Young,
went to the East.
Capella and shooters.
Gallinari was
It's just
still
like, it's
kind of
basically
close
just a
to
spread
this
pick and
prime.
roll team, and that's the whole game plan. Mm-hmm. Oh man, I think I'd pick this Pacers team.
Yeah, I feel like that's the team that I've heard it compared to.
I feel like the differentiator between this Pacers team and that Hawks team is like that Hawks team has guys like Gallinari and Herter. Whereas I feel like the defining factor about this Pacers team, we talked about it on Monday, is like they profile as a finesse team, but they have all these fucking like Andrew Neesmith type guys who are
TJ
just
McConnell.
Yeah, McConnell's all these like I will get in your face and talk shit and play really physical, which is like the wrinkle that these high-paced teams usually don't have. Like the Kings don't really have that.
No.
But I think that's what the unique wrinkle to this Pacers team is, and I think that is kind of why they've been a successful playoff team, regardless of the circumstances that helped them get here.
Yeah. I mean, it's a very interesting start to an era for this Pacers team.
I think what like this Pacers team I guess needs, like now that you watch them, is like it's kind of tough too because they've allocated the money towards Siakam and they're gonna have to. I think they're gonna have to extend Turner at some point soon, right?
Yeah,
I think so. But
I'd have to double
it feels
check
like
on
they
that.
do need one other shot creator from probably from the 2-guard position.
Yeah, I mean, they don't have Mathurin, which is kind of close to what you want. That is like conveniently already on your roster, but the Nembhard Halliburton backcourt does feel just way too small.
Yeah, it's kind of like I feel like Halliburton is a really good scoring player, but I just don't know in isolation and these like high profile moments where it's like, okay, like you've had, Derek White, who's a really good defender on you all game, but for this final possession, you're going to get Jason Tatum on you. And I feel like it's like, you saw it. It's like, it's hard to get a shot up because Jason Tatum is really big. It's like in 2010, weird throwback, but like, when it came playoff time, the Heat were like, okay, Derrick Rose, it's been fun seeing you be guarded by guards, but now LeBron James is going to guard you and have fun.
Yeah, it would be really cool to see a version of this Pacers team where like maybe Halliburton is kind of the only true guard in their starting lineup. And then you've got Neesmith, Siakam, and then one other wing that might even be more of like a 3 than a 2, just so you can like really bulk up on size. And then like just I feel like with the engine that Halliburton is and the way Turner can space the floor, you don't need like the greatest like scoring 2. You don't need a Donovan Mitchell really on this team to make it work.
Yeah, you're right. I didn't think of Mathurin. Maybe it really is just like Mathurin comes back next year. He's a lot better. They add this isolation thing. And, the Mathurin, Siakam, and maybe they can play a little bit better defense next year.
Yeah.
I think that's the hard part.
That's the hope.
It's just hard to play really good defense at the pace they play with.
Yeah, no, it is. There are still moments, even in this last game, where the Celtics are on offense, and it feels kind of like, okay, like the Pacers want the ball so they can play on offense again.
Yeah.
Which great teams don't normally do.
This is a fun game. I'm excited for game 2. I'm hoping it's a close game again. I'm hoping Indiana can kind of keep making this a series, but
you want to do some quick hitters of just a few things that have happened since we've last talked?
yeah, let's do it.
Did you see the all NBA teams?
I did.
Did you have any feelings about those?
Yeah, I feel like we talked about this when we made our all NBA teams. I feel like Tatum on the first team doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
To me, it just feels like you could switch Tatum with these other small forwards and just be like, okay, now Kevin Durant, your teammate is Derek White and Drew Holiday and all these, and now you get to be first. I just Tatum, like, he was worse statistically shooting from almost every area of the court than LeBron. Like, LeBron was better shooting from three, but LeBron was better shooting from mid-range, better finishing at the rim. He's a better passer. Defensively, I think Tatum is a better isolation player, but when you look at like defensive metrics, LeBron was more impactful for the Lakers. So I just don't get the Tatum on the first team. It just feels like, oh, the Celtics had the best record, so we have to give them a spot. But in reality, the team is just so good.
Yeah. I mean, I do value like best player, best team. But I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, I don't know. To me, it's just kind of weird that it's just like, okay, so you were worse at everything, but you get to be first team because you have better teammates. Like, I don't get that.
Yeah.
I feel like the All-NBA team should be a little bit less dependent of like your teammate quality, because that's what that felt like to me. What did you think about any of them?
I felt like it was just about right. I did find it a little funny that the two teams with two All-NBA players in the Suns and the Lakers had one combined playoff win and
That is funny.
Two combined fired coaches.
Yeah.
Like, that's definitely like a little bit of a statement as to what the current NBA is. I'm happy to see Sabonis got on the third team. I think this season was just like such a like interesting statistical like milestone season for him that I'm glad he was rewarded like that.
I remember he was the guy I was grappling with so much because I had him versus AD, and I was like, I feel like AD is a better basketball player, but like everything is saying Sabonis deserves a spot.
Yeah.
That was a weird one for me to grapple with at the time.
And then, you know, and then it goes down to like Ant making the second team and Tyrese Halliburton making the third team is just huge from like a money standpoint. Like, those guys are both eligible for Supermaxes now. I think the Anthony Edwards one is a lot easier to sell yourself on than the Tyrese Halliburton one. That might be a contract that I'm a little bit nervous about jumping into. I think he's a max guy. I don't know if it feels a little bit more like a Damian Lillard Supermax than a Steph Curry Supermax, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Which we have seen kind of be the downfall of certain rosters, but I guess we'll see how that goes going forward.
Speaking of Supermax, Luka Doncic, more All-NBA first teams than Stephen Curry at the age of 25.
I know. Yeah, he's got 5 now, tying. He's putting himself in the company of Dwight Howard, his head coach Jason Kidd, Charles Barkley, Dr. J, George Gervin, Rick Barry, and George Mikan, which is...
Yeah, and by the way, Luka's going to get a lot more first teams.
Yeah.
He's not going anywhere.
I also got to shout out LeBron. This is his 20th All-NBA selection. Do you know who's number 2 for most All-NBA selections in a career?
I'm going to guess Kareem or Kobe.
It's Kobe. Kobe has 15. So that's 5 less. That's the same difference. The LeBron-Kobe distance is the same between Kobe and Kevin Durant, David Robinson, Wilt Chamberlain, and those guys are at 20, like tied for 20th for most All-NBA selections. It's just,
jeez,
like this guy, LeBron James. He's
going
to step into his own soon, I think.
Yeah, LeBron is he's the GOAT. But I thought I was actually kind of fun. There's I don't know where these clips come from, but I saw another Lakers practice clip where LeBron is like teaching the coaching staff how they should guard James Harden, and I'm like, man, Darvin Ham fucking suck, dude.
I gotta say, it's like it's the impossible job though.
Yeah,
like being the coach for LeBron James. I feel like it's like imagine being like Leonardo DiCaprio's acting teacher. There's a certain point where you're like,
yeah,
I don't know, dude. Like,
no,
you got to feel it out.
The clip is really funny. He's like talking to Jackson Hayes about how he wants him to guard Harden on like pick and roll actions, and LeBron's like, if he does this, you can do this. If you do this. And then Jackson Hayes looks at him like a malfunctioning computer, like, bro, you just said like 30 different situations that I have to account for.
Yeah, no one's quite like LeBron. Another like All-NBA thing that I just think is hilarious and weird. So Shai Gilgeous-Alexander just got his second first-team All-NBA. He is now tied with Russell Westbrook with 2 first-team All-NBA selections in their careers, which is just like, as a child of the 2000s, is insane to wrap my head around, because Russell Westbrook is just a guy that it felt like he was kind of in that like top 5 player range for forever in the NBA. And now Shea has just as many first-team All-NBA selections.
Well, as a lifelong Russ doubter, it feels right. I feel like Shea's season this year was way better than Westbrook's MVP season.
Yeah, I mean, that's the cool thing about it, too, for, like, Shea is you can't even say, like, oh, it's positionless now. It's like, well, Shea got one last year.
Shea was a top 5 player.
And he was easily,
Yeah.
it should have been a guard.
Also,
even
there
if
was
it
a lot
positional.
of. Did you see like on NBA Twitter? There's a lot of like, are the Thunder the worst 1 seed ever? I'm like, dude, they're not even one of the like 10 worst 1 seeds ever.
yeah.
That team was actually pretty good.
Yeah, that's
nonsense.
insane.
Yeah.
That's just stop. Get some help. So we've got that. JB Bickerstaff got fired this morning.
Yeah, I wonder who they're gonna replace him with.
The like 2 candidates that Shams and Woj brought up were Kenny Atkinson and James Borrego.
Not the future Pat Riley.
Not the future Pat Riley. How do you feel about I don't think we've talked about that at all.
What, JJ Redick being compared to Pat Riley?
JJ Redick, being compared to Pat Riley being like the potential Lakers coach, like.
I think it is a weird dynamic for him to go from podcasting with the star player to becoming the head coach. But
if I was the star player of a team, I would insist you being my head coach.
But I will say, and I don't see, this is the thing, I don't want to like read into their interactions on a podcast and make that the inference of how I feel about their relationship would go. But at least from what I've seen on their podcast, JJ Redick is more than comfortable calling LeBron out on his shit. And I feel like it could be a good fit if JJ's able to have that Popovich-Duncan conversation with him where he's like, hey, let me yell at you.
What would be more lethal for their podcast? JJ becoming the coach of LeBron or JJ becoming the Lakers coach and then LeBron leaving the Lakers?
I think I will say like Redick does seem like he would be kind of a hard. I don't know. I've
He seems like he would be a hard
I've watched a lot of
ass.
JJ content. He seems like he'd be a hard ass. He seems like he really knows what he's talking about. I think he really seems to understand the way the game is changing constantly, and I think it's also I don't want to compare anyone to Pat Riley.
No.
But he does seem like someone who could be, if he is a good coach, one of those types of coaches who's able to be a good coach for a long time, like a Spoelstra or a Popovich, in the way that it seems like he really understands data. And I feel like the next crop of great NBA coaches are going to be the coaches who are able to balance understanding analytics with
embracing
it
knowledge
while
that we
being
have.
an actual human coach. And I feel like JJ is going to have that ability too. And I feel like the best coaches usually are the high level role players, not the star players.
Yeah, we have kind of seen that. We really haven't seen any.
Yeah, I think it's just really goofy because he's this podcast co-host.
It's like it's not gonna happen, is it? Like, but then again, it's like who else? Who else will it be at this point?
I honestly don't know for the worst. Hot take. I think maybe I'll be on worst take on Monday. You guys can decide. I think the Lakers just having LeBron be a de facto player coach is probably the best thing for them. Like, it seems like this guy knows more about X's and O's than almost anyone who's going to tell him anything.
I mean, I feel like it's unavoidable. I don't know if it's the best thing, but like we were joking about it earlier, but it's the truth. Like, nobody has the clearance to tell LeBron shit. You know, like just there is no one. I think like maybe a guy like Chris Paul could maybe like tell LeBron some stuff just because they're friends and is also like a Hall of Fame player. But I feel like even a guy like JJ, like there's a certain point where it's like, look, JJ, like you don't know what it's like to be me. Like you haven't seen the shit that I have seen.
I guess I don't want to make an inference from a podcast, but I will say it seems like JJ is very self-aware at all times. And I feel like that's what could make him a good coach. But at the same time, like none of us know who's going to be a good coach when a rookie coach gets hired. And half the time when a second time or third time coach gets hired, we still don't even know if they're good or bad.
I know. Look at fucking Jason Kidd. He's like been arguably the best coach in the playoffs so far. Like, he's
I
been
think
awesome.
It's really tough to evaluate guys like Kidd or even like some other coaches where it's like your best offensive game plan is literally just run like Luka ISOs or Luka spread pick and rolls. And it's like, I give you credit for not being too cute with it, but it's like at the same time, I haven't seen that tactileness on offense. But
same way I feel about the Lakers friggin' GM. What's his name? Pelinka.
Yeah.
It's like, great idea. You traded for Anthony Davis a couple of years ago. Like, how'd you come up with that one?
All right, should we get to best take, worst take?
Yeah, let's get to best take, worst take.
Wait, I feel like you guys are missing a very obvious conspiracy theory about JB Bickerstaff retiring.
Oh, what
Is
is
it? Conspiracy?
I mean, this is a conspiracy theory.
Or getting fired? Okay, I love
getting
it.
fired. So we've heard a lot. We've heard this idea of like, okay, what if LeBron goes back to the Cavs and they draft Bronny? What if LeBron goes into retirement, becomes the head coach of the Cavs, and they draft Bronny?
And they win the championship.
And they win the championship.
It's the perfect third act of the LeBron movie, or fourth act.
Would be kind of sick. That's all I'm saying.
All right, no. What if LeBron becomes the GM of the Cavaliers?
Le Cavs.
And he pairs up Bronny and Bryce.
I gotta say, how the fuck is Kobe Altman still the GM of the Cavaliers? Like, what has he done to deserve to keep this job for so long? He was the GM LeBron's last year.
I'm going to push back a little bit. They've made the playoffs. They've made the second round now. They have not had any playoff success outside of LeBron since Mark Price. I'm going to give Kobe Altman one more year.
Kobe Altman built the Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell backcourt and the Jared Allen, Evan Mobley frontcourt.
But that's the thing. I still feel like this is the stepping stone to where that team eventually wants to be. I'm going to give Kobe Altman one more year.
I just hope that in my professional life, I have the grace that Kobe Altman is granted.
See, but the thing is, I haven't really hated any of his moves in a vacuum though. Like I liked trading, Sexton and Markkanen for Mitchell, and I liked
that is not the worrying part about the Mitchell trade package.
But I like the Strus signing. I don't know. I guess I haven't really hated anything he's done that much.
I'm just saying 5 first-round picks for 1 playoff series victory is a pretty tough trade for me.
Yeah. Well, how are you going to feel if the Timberwolves lose in this round and then say they have to ship out guys because of finance reasons?
I mean, that's their prerogative, but they've already won 2 playoff series, which is an awesome place to be. And it was not as big of a price. It was a little bit less. And I think they just have a better fitting roster and team and future outlook.
I don't know. I'm not as down on Kobe Altman. I feel like the Cavs are still in a position to keep growing. So I'm high on the Cavs.
We'll see what happens this offseason, but I am not optimistic on the Cavs' future.
Go Cavs. All right, should we get to... I said best take, worst take. It's Thursday. I've got my wires crossed. Should we get to
hot
shooting slump?
Yes. Let's get there. Max, how you feeling, man?
I'll go hot streak this week. I think, I'm doing pretty good. Obviously, my guys lost last night, basketball wise, but they made it to the fucking Western Conference.
There we go.
Finals.
First time in your conscious fan history.
Yeah. I mean, to be clear, I've only really been a big fan of basketball since about 2013, 2014. So I have been on the ground floor with this cat, Timberwolves.
That's 11 years, my friend.
You've seen a lot of Timberwolves basketball.
Yeah. But to see them play at this level, is just incredible. I just wanted them to win 1 series, and they won 2. So let's just keep this train rolling. The Wolves are going to win in 6. I don't care what anybody says.
There we go.
Ant and Jiedel need to have their backs against the wall. They need to be they need to take things.
That's
personally.
when Wolves are at their best.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's true.
But otherwise doing good. Got some Korean barbecue last night, which was delish.
Yeah.
I think I ate a little too much. I was definitely
that's the only way to do it.
Yeah, never eat too much.
But no, it's been a pretty fun, good week. Hanging out with friends, getting some work done. I'm on a hot streak.
There we go.
Yeah,
hot streak, baby.
What about you guys?
I'm on a hot streak, not for any particular reason. It's just a pretty regular week. I went to work Monday to Friday. I watched basketball on the weekends with my brother. Then I went back to work. So it was pretty much the flow of life. Nothing bad happened. So nothing to indicate a cold streak.
There.
Nothing.
We've done the research.
Yeah, we've done the research. The analytics say that I didn't shoot that poorly. No, I feel like I was just going through the motions, and I feel like I enjoy living life. So if there's nothing bad happens, I guess I'm on a hot. I don't know. I know this is a lame hot streak shooting slump for me. I don't know. Nothing really happened.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm kind of in the same place. I would say I'm on a hot streak. I had like a pretty fun show this weekend in LA. So that was good, pretty good turnout. That made me happy. A lot of great basketball, which I'm a sicko for. I'm trying to think. I moved not too long ago, and there's the closest bar in proximity is this bar called Old Fields, and I tried it for the first time. It's this like cute little cocktail bar. They had like this signature Negroni on their menu that I tried that I loved. I'm a huge Negroni guy, so I'm like, I feel like I've zeroed in on the bar that I want to like really
be the regular at.
Yeah, really put some equity in and like try to like grow a relationship with the staff.
I might have to check it out with you soon.
Yeah, no, we should all go. The one no TVs, which is like
Bit of a bum.
a bit of a bummer, but that's what phones are for.
Because you gotta have a screen.
Yeah, I'm
can't live
a
without one.
complete iPad baby, as you can see right here. So I'll walk over with my iPad so we can throw on a basketball game.
Yeah, no, I feel that. No, actually, it's kind of funny you say that. So I've been having this dilemma. It's not a big health issue, but it's like a should I be worried about my choices issue. Mm-hmm. So usually Monday, we record the pod and then I'll go work out, or most of the time, Patrick, you leave, Max is working on finishing the pod and I'm, scripting out my videos for the week or I'm prepping my videos for the week. But normally by the time it's like 11 a.m., I've probably had like 32 ounces of coffee, which this isn't the issue. The issue is I am so unproductive when I'm at home and I have my desktop and I've got the two screens. I've got the ultra wide screen and the other screen. So I basically have three screens. It's like I can't help but like unconsciously go to Twitter or Reddit or, all these different YouTube. But when I go out to like a coffee shop or a brewery, I can just grab a coffee or a beer and I'm like uber productive. But the problem is I drink so much coffee in the morning that the coffee shop option kind of goes away. So then it's like I'm just drinking at 3:00 on a Monday, like every other Monday.
Maybe you need
But
to
I'm
get on to
productive when I do it.
Maybe you need to get onto like an iced tea grind where it's like you just constantly have some iced tea and you're intaking a slower drip of caffeine.
But I don't know what to do but I still need to go somewhere. I still need the physical change of like. I guess this is my dilemma.
James, capitalism has you in its grips.
It does.
Like no other.
Because I can't go to a brewery and get a fucking soda.
Hear me out.
It'd be unethical.
That's true.
They have libraries around here?
Oh, dude, come on now.
No?
I can't do that.
Why?
Those aren't my people.
What happens when he's done?
No, so when I was in college, I need noise. That's the problem. Like when I was in college, I never did my homework in my house or my dorm or my apartment. I always went to the student center. I was like the dude who was like the last person to leave the student center at like 12 o'clock at night every day because I need that hustle and bustle sound. So I have to go somewhere loud.
Wow.
Okay.
James, for your next living situation, we really need to work with you on creating an environment that you're comfortable working in. Because I feel like
No, that's why I was like,
this
hey,
could be a catch-all solution.
You want to take work off next Monday so you can show me that bar so I can find a new bar to do work on my laptop?
Yeah, dude, it's a good one. Honestly, it's kind of the perfect like get some work done while I'm at the bar.
See, you understand. Like, you just got that beer next to you or your Negroni, and it's like, let's fucking go, Tony. Let's go.
You just got to add it to your list of like what you're looking for in your apartment. Like 2 bedrooms, spacious living room,
Loud
thin
neighbors.
walls, loud neighbors.
No, I feel like it's like I need to leave the house though. Like I was one of those people that I feel like it's weird. Like I feel like we're in the era of everyone being like, I love working from home, but when I actually worked a corporate job, I was like, I loved going to the office.
There's something nice.
I'm exactly the same with that.
Yeah, I don't understand the people who like to work from home. Like, I feel like I'm always trying to get out of the house because I spend so much time in my house.
Yeah, I mean, like, the best part of working from home for me is just not having to drive to work.
Yeah, because you have a long commute. I had a long commute too, but I liked being in the office.
Yeah, I mean, I think like I've heard some like stats that like indicate that like productivity can be better when you're like, that is the most bullshit thing I've ever heard.
Dude.
There's no way that is true.
I feel like when you go on Twitter nowadays, all you see are people being like, here's ways I circumvent actually doing my job. And then you'll see the same person being like, why does my job never give me a raise? Like, bro, like look at your fucking Twitter, bro.
Yeah. They're following you on Twitter, bro.
I don't know. I feel like so many people nowadays are just like, how can I do the very least amount of stuff? And I'm like, I don't know. You got to embrace it. Otherwise, you're going to hate it if you don't embrace it. That's the thing.
That's true. That is 100% true. That's the same thing with like school.
Yeah.
Like in high school, I could never get behind the people that were just like, oh, like I hate this school. Like I can't wait to get out. I can't wait to graduate. It's like, you just must be miserable all the fucking time. Just like embrace the fact that we're here. Like
you get to see your friends every day.
You get to see people. Like you're not just sitting around like blending your fucking brain watching God knows what like on the internet.
See, I get it on a subject by subject basis because if you're like, I was like, man, I don't like algebra, but like I liked history. I like science.
Yeah. There's got to be something interesting.
How do you not like science class? People who don't like science class, I'm like sus. Did you like science?
Science class hard.
It depended on.
It was hard.
I struggled.
So
I struggled
interesting.
with science.
No, I didn't like when science class was like, we're going to do math today. That's when I was like, kind of lost me.
It's
a
like,
little
this is
bit.
not what I was
But
sold
like when you
on.
go to chemistry class and they're like, today we're going to mix different fucking colors together and smoke's going to come out of the beaker. I'm like, let's fucking go.
That's cool, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean like the was it anatomy? That was not fun.
You didn't like dissecting a rat?
Oh, that was awful.
We had to do like a fetal pig.
Bro, y'all want to know something crazy? My high school had human cadavers
What?
for AP anatomy.
You saw a dead body in
They would
class?
wheel them around the fucking school.
Oh my god!
They're always covered, but like you knew there was a dead
Part
human
of me
in there.
is like, that's disgusting, but the other part of me is like, I've never seen a dead body like that. Like, am I prepared for life in the same way that James is?
I didn't take AP anatomy, so I never saw the physical. I just saw them getting wheeled around with the cloth over them. But also, I went to a public school. Kind of crazy.
Who is it? Whose body is like? Can you imagine if that was your body that ends up like in the
a high
hands
school?
of a 16-year-old?
Yeah.
I need to meet all the people who were taking AP anatomy at my high school and know, are they all just like godly doctors right now? Are they just like the greatest doctors ever?
Yeah, that or like serial killers across the board.
Ooh, why'd you put that thought in my head? They could be living in my town.
They could be.
On that note,
Well, that's been foul trouble.
All right, we will
Stay in school, kids.
stay in school. We'll catch you on Monday. Peace.